All right. Hi, everyone, and welcome to tonight's episode of Andromeda Adventures with Endara the Second Age and our wonderful cast. Getting started, I would like to apologize to everyone for last week. I had a medical emergency that I had to take care of, and so we had to call it early. But I'm doing better, so all is good. Other than that, I would like to thank our producer, Nick, and all of our wonderful Patreons. And if you would like to support us, you can subscribe here now that we're our affiliate. Congrats, everyone. And um, or follow us, like us, check us out on Facebook, Instagram, and YouTube. Catch up on all of our past episodes on YouTube. And you can also support us on Patreon, uh, Andromeda Adventures. So I think, other than mentioning the amazing mythical family that we have been working with on the side, a couple of people from Mythical Family on sort of pre-production and practicing learning the system for Star Trek Adventures, which hopefully will be getting will launch soon-ish. Don't have an exact launch date yet, but look forward to it. It's going to be a lot of fun. James, Nick, and Kira will be part of our cast for that, as well as another member of Mythical Family and a member of Cast Gamers, who we are here at Andromeda Adventures are good friends with. And check out Kira GMing on Prismatic Dragonfly Tavern on Sundays over at Mythical Family. She's amazing. Go check her out. Give them a follow. Other than that, I think we're ready to get started. So, James, cue that intro. All right. Welcome back. As we get started, Hadrian, will you please catch the audience up on what happened last time on Endara the Second Age?
Yeah, sure. So basically, the first thing that happened was that, well, I mean, unbeknownst to all of us, but I'm going to pretend that I was a magical fly on the wall. Wastora had a meeting with her patron, who, for her face, seemed pretty oblivious to Wastora's kind of like quite maybe I'll do what you want me to do attitude, but basically she implied that, hey, good job stopping Jill from getting Godric's powers. By the way, I still want Godric's powers. Not a contradiction. Very trustworthy individual. Wanted Wastora to make deals with the Fae, get people to make deals with the Fae. Again, nothing shady about that whatsoever. And we don't know any of this. So, huzzah. Yeah, and then after that, Ristora, as is her custom, went down to take a bath where she encountered Anais making breakfast, which I soon joined in on because I used to do it in Ishgard, and we sort of like silently made breakfast for people, pancakes, potatoes, etc. Sat down, started to have a long philosophical conversation about magic, with Bob's being traded as is the norm. She really wanted me to read her book, which I eventually agreed to do. As long as I get a signed copy, of course. I expect it to be a stinging insult. Magna came down, Garth eventually came down, got bored of the magical conversation, grabbed a bottle of scotch from me, and went into the lounge where Codoris found him. And again, we only heard bits of it, but we got
Uh-oh. I guess we'll never know where the end of that went. We seem to have a frozen Nick.
Oh my gosh. We're right at the perfect expression.
Ah,
Right.
is he back?
Hello? Okay.
Yep, you're back.
What was
You're
the
back.
last thing you heard? What was the last thing you heard? Clueless? Or what was the last thing?
Codoris, and then...
Yeah, sorry. We got to learn that Garth was clueless about sort of subtle flirting. And Codoris was clueless, or motivated reasoning into thinking that everything Goth said was sexual. So that was fun. And then they went on a date to, well, breakfast, I think. But then they also went to visit Grigori, who Goth made a sending to, and it seems he was sort of being like rage werewolfy. We don't really know. Back at the chateau, we'd sort of been starting to discuss what we would be doing next. And apart from looking into how to destroy the rings, and we started talking about maybe making alliances for people with the Fae, the first thing that really came up as a possible solution or a possible path next, other than exploring Anais's neighborhood, which we still want to do because we're in the city, we should see the sights, was getting rid of the whole Black Rage Inkwing problem that I seem to be suffering from. And I believe we'd left off with Anais telling me to enjoy life and not be so dramatic. Then we just sort of had to cut early. So that was the last thing that happened, unless I have missed anything.
No. And that is where we'll pick up as you guys are discussing the ink problem and further steps. You spend some time in the chateau. It is getting more into the afternoon, and sun is starting to set as the evening approaches. At this point, after spending a wonderful day together, Cadoris and Garth would be returning to the chateau. And Cadoris, near the door, would kind of walk up and he'd look to Garth and Garth, I had a wonderful time today. It was wonderful spending time with you.
I had a great time as well. It was a lot of fun.
With everything that happened recently, I do want to go check on some of my friends and family,
Yeah,
but
of
I
course.
would love for us to have another date, and perhaps next time we could stay at Madame de Pompadour's for the evening.
Sure, yeah. I'll be here probably.
Forward to seeing you. And if I might be so bold as to try and take a cue from your culture.
Sure.
And he leans in and kisses you. Quickly retracts. I hope I got that right. Have a wonderful evening. He kind of puts his hand on your arm.
Yeah, you as well.
And he kind of blushes and turns away and make an insight check.
Insight. It's a natural one.
He just needs to walk away for the evening.
Oh my God.
Must just be how Indonesians say goodbye.
Yeah. How it's fate wants Garth to remain clueless. I think that's obvious. The
This
man
is
just,
rigged.
The man
It's
just
rigged.
kissed you. And you're like, gesture.
I know people like that.
Just leave how the Emeritians say goodbye. That's that nice. He placed it on the cheeks. He just went right in the middle.
So he missed. So like archery lessons. You got to work on his fingering. Okay, sorry.
That's what you meant to say.
I'll just
So you
walk
guys
into
would
the
hear
chateau.
Garth returning as you're sitting around the table having your discussion.
I'll walk in, I guess, into the dining room.
I mean, the
I
discussion.
think you'd pass them in the lounge.
Oh,
Yeah.
in the lounge, okay.
The discussion had been happening like all the way back in the morning, so I'm sure we've moved on to different
Mhm.
discussions or stuff by now. But
Or have we? I don't know that's what I was trying to clarify.
Well, you guys had been discussing stuff in the morning, and then we jumped to
yeah,
Okay, so,
going
so we were assuming that the discussion that we were having later was later, so this is still
Yeah.
that same discussion. Okay.
Yeah.
So, really well.
We're not still talking about magic, are we?
No.
Not particularly.
Well, a kind of magic. The Black Wing, I guess, is sort of a magic.
Okay, not like just general magic stuff.
Well, we're talking about trying to get the ink stuff out, I guess.
Oh yeah, but
Yeah.
that's important.
Yeah.
Well, it's somewhat important, but rather more important was how was your day?
He beat me
great.
to it.
Yeah, we had a lot of fun.
What'd you do?
Well, we went and got breakfast. Not that breakfast wasn't great here. But we went and got breakfast, and then we went around town, just kind of seeing sights, and then we went to Madame du Pompadour's. I was looking for Gregory. I think he's being attacked by wolves at the moment. Oh, I sent a sending to him with the earring, and
Frosty, did the rest of us ever figure out that Grigori was a werewolf in character?
No confirmation. I mean, you guys,
We
I think,
assumed
had some.
so
Well, you said
And we did see a wolf-like thing leap out of the window and off into the woods.
we saw a werewolf. I mean,
Yeah,
I
you saw a werewolf at the chateau.
I'm just trying to figure out whether or not I can go to Garth and say,
I think we might be able to put
Okay,
two and two together and come up with something approximately 4.
Garth, are you sure he was attacked by wolves?
that's what it sounded like.
What did you hear exactly?
Yeah.
He was like, he sounded really pained and I heard a big howl of a wolf.
Do you think he might be a werewolf? I mean, he has that Nylea thing going on, right? And that's kind of, hunter kind of thing. We saw that werewolf at the party, leaping out, going in there, which had white hair, kind of like his.
I mean, he could be.
It was.
But it seems likely at this stage.
You said it was ascending, Garth?
Yes, ascending.
Just to jump in on the magical side of things, the only thing that you're going to hear in ascending is what that person is thinking / saying. So if there was a howl, it was them, not something in the background. There is no background noise in ascending.
Well, that's not good.
That's not good.
That's probably why he was interested in your connection to Nylea.
I don't know where he is.
Well, we can either try to find him or wait for him to return on his own.
But if he's like out of control, I don't know if he will return.
Well, if he's out of control, if we find him, he may just attack us.
It's true.
Also, if he's out of control, then again, sorry to be the devil's advocate here, but either he doesn't encounter anybody, he does encounter somebody, but they're so far away from the city that we'd never be able to find him in that instance, or he encounters somebody in the city and it's a city, so they catch the werewolf and detain him. So it doesn't seem like there's much we can realistically do here.
Of course, he might hurt somebody.
Yeah, no, but I mean, what I'm saying is that if he's going to be able to hurt somebody and we would be the only ones who can do something about it, that also means probably far outside the city.
Oh, I see.
And we wouldn't be able to find him.
In
Like
time
we could just go like wander the woods, obviously.
Yeah,
but
well,
not
I wouldn't know where we'd go looking for him.
yeah,
That's
neither
true.
would I.
Yeah. I mean, it could be anywhere in the woods. So, assuming he's out in the woods. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. That's what I'm saying. Like, he's either away from civilization, in which case we're not going to find him, unless we get really lucky, or he's in civilization, in which case it's a problem, but it seems unlikely we'll be the first to deal with it.
Well, I'm okay with not. I mean, I like Grigori, and I definitely don't want anybody to get hurt. But unless we have some sort of idea on how we could help him or help somebody.
Well, if he's got a modicum of control, then hopefully all we'll actually find is a trail of disgruntled farmers and dead sheep.
Fingers crossed.
Anish, I have a question for you.
Yes.
I want to learn more about Amarish a little bit. How do you usually say goodbye?
It depends on the circles that you're in. If you're in the courts, there's a variety of ways and levels of formality. Are you talking about that kind of a goodbye or all of them in general?
Yeah, I guess in general. I don't think Cadorus is from the courts.
Why are you asking?
I'm just curious.
Uh, most of the time, a simple wave. The one that I see the most with inquisitors are in my neighborhood is the 2-finger just wave, almost like a salute. But there's no formality unless you're in the courts. If you're in the courts, then it's going to be a curtsy, a bow, sometimes kisses on the cheek. It depends, but I don't think we really have a custom that I've ever come across other than the courtly stuff. But with stories, isn't that kind of your experience at any court for the most part?
Yeah, I mean that's just sort of general decorum in all courts. I mean every court has some slight variations on it,
But nothing that's very
nothing that would stand out. I've in my experience at the Emerson courts, I've seen anything particularly unusual.
On
Yeah.
the cheek?
Yeah, like,
Yes.
usually like a peck kind of thing.
The two kiss on
Yeah.
one kiss on each cheek, it signifies like respect, but you're not crossing a line into something like romantic or personal or something like
Yeah,
that.
like directly on the lips, that'd be a bit too much. You just want to aim for the cheeks.
Right. He must have missed.
Who must have what?
He must have missed.
Who must have missed?
Cadorus.
What did what do you mean? What do you mean by that?
Well, he went for the cheeks and just like kissed your shoulder instead.
No. No, on my lips.
That's not a miss.
Yeah,
Garth,
Garth,
are you? Have you had a boyfriend or girlfriend in the past? Been romantically involved with anybody?
No.
Oh,
Well, you are now.
Wastora, do you want to do the? I'm just seems like your responsibility given the roles in the group. Adrian just starts laughing at that part. You can tell he's joking.
It's like that.
It's like
Like what, God? I just want to make sure that you have the right.
He likes me like more than just
More than a friend
more than friends, yes.
and not family.
He's been flirting with you for a while, just the way that he's kind of carried himself and acted around you. It's kind of adorable, honestly.
has he?
It's
Oh.
small things. I don't blame you for not noticing them if it's something that you're not looking out for or you have much experience with, but just kind of staying close to you, putting his hand on your shoulder, certain words, stuff like that.
Guess now that you mention it, maybe.
Do you like him?
I mean, yeah.
Do you like him, not like him as a person? Do you like?
I don't know.
I mean, to be fair, if they've only just started going on a few dates, he doesn't have to know that yet.
One.
Correct.
That's true. It's more like, is he interested at all? Is what I'm because if you go on a date with someone, it means you're a bit interested. I think.
But I'm new to this whole thing. I don't really know what I'm supposed to feel.
You know,
Whatever you feel is fine, Garth. It's not. There's no supposed to feel. You just play it out. If you're not certain, just see him again. Just make sure that you don't do anything you're not comfortable with. That's the only important thing.
Right.
And be nice about it. Just say, I'm comfortable with this. I'm not comfortable with that. Be honest with him.
Right, yeah.
And probably be direct. There's been some miscommunication, it seems, between the two of you, so it might be good to be clear about things.
I guess there has been.
Everything she just said. Perfect. Totally agree.
Yeah, come to think of it, I don't think I've ever been on an actual date either.
I've been
How
on.
did I not pick up on that?
It's been a while though.
As Garth, the whole conversation that you had earlier with Cadorus this morning.
Oh
about
no.
Everything plays through your head.
I've got a lot of explaining to do.
Yeah, it's not as bad as you might think or feel right now. It's hopefully something you can smile about.
It was bad.
That bad?
We had a talk this morning. It was bad.
Well,
Did he still go out on a date with you afterwards, though?
Yes,
So it wasn't that bad.
but it was a lot of
Euphemisms.
misunderstanding.
misunderstandings.
It's
Yeah,
fine. You just go forward by now. If he really likes you, he's not going to be bothered by a misunderstanding or two. He'll just want to know where you stand and what you're comfortable with.
right. Yeah, I can do that.
Don't worry, be fine.
But enough about me. What have you all been up to?
I'm taking it easy for the most part after everything, nursing wounds and just talking about a lot of things.
Yeah, I finished my afternoon bath about 15, 20 minutes ago.
You're ahead of schedule for the day, aren't you?
Well, I figured once you got back, we might do something in the evening. So
Fair enough.
Yeah. I've been reading this book. Yeah.
I still think you're speed
Fine.
reading it. It's a textbook. It's going to take a while for you to get through.
I didn't say I was done reading it. I said I've been reading it. If you look at the pages I'm at, there's like maybe 50 of them read. So
and to be fair, however fast you read is up to you. Maybe it's such a pleasurable book that he's just simply loving every second of it,
oh, it's not.
enjoying it.
I mean, it is an
Or
academic
or
textbook.
he's an asshole. One of
It's
these.
an textbook. It's not supposed to be enjoyable fiction. It's information. I'm very
Textbooks can be beautifully and wonderfully written.
okay.
Right.
I'm sure they can. This is not an example of that.
No, Hadrian, you should probably be quiet about it now.
No.
Speaking of reading,
Yes.
can anybody here speak Orcish?
Technically,
no,
I can speak
unfortunately not.
anything if you give me a minute or two, but
Could you teach me how to read Orcish?
oh, not that. That's not my kind. Mine's the more cheat with magic, and then I can read it for a little bit, sort of thing. Sadly, I can't help with teaching.
I can only help you with Sylvan.
Can teach
What?
you. Can you write or read anything?
Wow, really?
I'm curious.
Wasn't Addis teaching you to read?
Yeah, he was. I'm wondering how far he got. That's all. Right. I'm
I've
not.
got a little bit of it.
Do you want more help with it? I wouldn't recommend starting on this book. It's dense, but we could go for some. I've
Well-
still got some books for Elsbeth we could work with.
What is it that you needed reading?
I just want to know how to read and write in it.
That's a very noble goal.
Yeah, but I just wondered if you had a target or a specific thing to.
Oh, no. I just want to know. It's the language I'm used to speaking back home, and I always wanted to be able to actually use it more than just speaking it.
I see.
It's a great. No, I think that's great.
Yeah, I'm sorry we can't help
You
with
should-
it, but
Yeah, I am really
Well-
sorry that I don't speak any Orcish.
What I will say, I might be able to teach you to write Orcish, but not in the Orcish script.
Like in Dwarvish, you mean?
Well, we're not gonna find many Orcish texts for you to practice with. Is the problem?
Oh, I see what you mean.
But it's a fairly transferable skill once you've learned.
You know what? This is a city with a well-known, famous university.
You're right. I
Lots
take
of
that
students
back.
from around the world. I can guarantee you, we can find you an Orcish tutor who can teach you how to read and write.
Actually, though, didn't Addis? I don't know if I know this. Did Addis leave you a book?
They did.
was it Orcish or was it? I thought it was common something like that.
I'll pull it out.
Giant.
I don't know what it is.
Can I take a look?
Do any of you
If I
speak,
remember,
read, or write Orcish?
if I remember rightly, this was written in multiple languages.
Yeah, it
It
was.
is.
It's primordial, common, deep speech, and giant. I think.
Do
Come up with
Orcish
Orcish.
and Dwarvish share script?
I
think so.
believe.
I think
think so.
Orcish, at least in like I think like most D&D lore, Orcish does share a script with some.
Yes,
one of the
it
major
is the
languages.
same script as Dwarven.
Oh, hey.
The tricky part though is that you might have like similar pronunciation, but
Yeah.
it'll be different words. But you can at
And
least
that's-
learn.
Well, I mean, this is something.
It's
It's not.
basically an abbreviated and shortened offshoot of Dwarven. It does have bits of Goblin and Gnomish in it, though it's a much more complex language than Goblin. And a lot of the words are sort of with the combination of sort of short and half words, they're combined with grunts and vocal intonation to
And-
contextually adjust the meaning of the words.
Plus, it's not perfect, but if Magnar starts teaching you how to speak it a couple times a day, I can speak it with you or help you practice.
Oh, I can
But yeah.
speak just fine.
But if you learn to read and write Dwarven, you would be able to read Orcish
Orcish.
because you speak it, so you would know the phonetics and intonation.
Yeah, this is quite a neat trick. I could read this out to you, and I'd have no idea what I was saying, and you'd be able to understand me.
Well, would it be like, for example, say reading French, and like yes, most of it would be very similar, but like obviously there's going to be accents and
Oh,
intonation.
I'm sure my
Right.
pronunciation's going to be absolutely terrible, but
If you're primordial or mythical you go by, then yes, absolutely.
But yeah, and you would see that it does written in sort of even the common. It is the Adventures of Girth, the Beastmaster.
Right, got it.
So what? I've no idea. What did I just say, Garth? If I got that at all right?
I believe you had said Girth started his journey in Xenos.
Right. Well, good. Then yeah, we can do this. I can teach. Yes, you can teach me Orcish, and I can teach you to read it. That's quite the pairing.
Hey.
Yeah.
Sounds like a plan.
Right.
Your pronunciation's a little bit off, though.
Right. Yes, I imagine it needs a bit more. I tried throwing some manga
Bit
into
more
it,
like
but
the back of the throat.
oh, right. Yes, need more phlegm.
Mm.
It's a beautiful language.
Yeah.
So,
We got off track a bit.
we did. We might have gotten a bit off track.
Uh,
I think I think we need to probably discuss our next steps, at least for the night, if anything.
Well, I was about to bring that up. The palace, perhaps the whole
yes.
idea of staying there.
I certainly plan on going back tonight. And at some point, I think we're probably going to need to speak to the queen. I know I have one or two things I need to discuss with
I believe she said she would summon us.
She did.
Right.
Well, and the thing is, even though I'm not technically on duty, despite the fact we're always on duty in a way, nor have I been assigned to you all in any official capacity, I feel responsible for your safety right now. And I would prefer if we were all in one defensible place for tonight and not here. My wards are not suited for this kind of environment, and the palace would be far safer if Jill or somebody else decides to pay us a visit.
I
And
believe Goth has something he's about to say.
Do
He's
you
been doing
think
this.
they'll let Barry into the palace?
They will, because of what everyone did and the fact that Barry played a hand in it. They'll let Barry in.
didn't they literally
So they
let
let
him
him into the
into
masquerade.
masquerade?
Yeah. If they let him into the masquerade ball, they'll let him into the
Mhm.
palace.
Yeah.
Just,
I
just,
think-
just say
I
he's
think we're good.
Elspeth's caretaker for now.
It isn't uncommon for wizards and sorcerers to have unusual pets
Right.
and familiars.
You can't be the only Garth. You can't be the only ranger who has
Right.
shown.
Yeah, but he might be the only ranger with a bear in the. I don't know. It doesn't matter. You can get in it. That's the point.
Yeah.
I'm fine staying in the palace. I still think we need to figure out like further next steps, but we also talked about the fact that like it's
we might wait until after we get a chance to speak with the queen.
yeah, exactly. Yeah. And
Because we don't know what she's going to ask of us.
we also don't know if she has any information that would help with some of the things we're looking to do. Garth, I have something I'd like to talk to you about just in terms of like Nylea and that sort of connection, if you're up for it at some point, but
But the sun is also going down, so before we have other conversations and stuff, we should
Let's
try and
get
decide if
packed up. Yeah.
yeah.
No. I said at some point. I wasn't saying today. Goth has a lot to think about right now and some reading lessons with Magna, and I have a book to read.
Right, but I think
Fascinating, beautifully written book of elegant prose and poetry.
right. But to
I
your
see.
point, with like, this is like Scry capital for our good friend, and we should probably find somewhere else to put our heads. I think the palace is probably the greatest place for us to
it
do
is,
that.
then it is and it isn't. But I mean, yeah, the palace will have more wards on it. My house has more wards technically, but I think the palace is much safer considering he'll let himself in my front door.
I was going to say, didn't he?
You don't want us rifling through your stuff.
I don't care. My house doesn't really have a lot of stuff that you would find interesting in it. Unless I mean Magnar actually would probably love my house just because of my collection of books that I built up over the years. But no, Jill was able to slip in through the front door with wards up, so I don't trust my own house anymore, which is bad.
Maybe we should go and camp in his house because I bet he put up really good wards against scrying.
I bet he did. I wouldn't be surprised if the welcome mat hit a spike trap underneath. So
Yeah.
Fair point.
Also,
Scratch that.
We're bringing Elsbeth because I'm not going to leave her here.
Oh
Yes.
yeah.
Yeah, right. So safe places only, and I think the palace counts as that.
Elsbeth, I'm going to go try and find Elsbeth before we head out.
Tell her she gets to be a princess for a
That's
while.
what- I was literally going to say, Elsbeth, do you want to go stay in a pretty castle for a bit?
Yeah, I've always wanted to stay in a castle. Is it a big castle?
It's a very big castle. It's not the biggest castle, but it's pretty big.
Okay. Brownie, we're gonna go to the castle now, and you are going to be my mighty knight that keeps me safe. So you have to walk by my side, okay? And very she got ducks on the fur.
Right. Okay. So good. That's settled then.
All right. So you guys would pack up whatever small possessions, obviously not carrying everything. Don't need a moving wagon. Uh, uh,
I will
but
bring all of my stuff.
uh, head out to the palace. As you guys are walking through the streets, you would see guards are out in force, far more than any of you have ever seen in Amoris. And they are even getting a little rough with some of the more conspicuous strangers and people traveling. So pulling them aside, kind of really kind of interrogating and pressuring them. They're a lot of people on the street are kind of glancing and sort of looking down on all these people. There's just a very tense air to the whole city. And as you guys are walking through, you can actually you do pass by one of the city guardhouses and jails and can see that they are constructing a very large gallows outside. And she
You
continues.
will see Hadrian's hand white knuckle on his sword hilt, just staring at the gallows.
And as you get more closer to the palace district and past the everything, you can see there's a lot more law mages out being flanked by guards. Again, there's a bit of tension in the air. You do occasionally, as you're making your way through the town, spot little areas that were slightly damaged or scorched from small skirmishes that happen in the city as the ritual wasn't completely disrupted, but they look very contained. And there's very little damage overall, even to the few pockets where it happened. Getting to the palace, you are welcomed by the guards as they were told to allow you guys to stay. And you meet a couple of sort of handmaids and butlers and servants that usher you to a wing in the palace where each of you have a room set up. Westora, you're taken back to the same room that you stayed in last time. And all of you can see the very extravagant bedrooms that have been set up, hutches and chests and vanities and changing folds, these huge, very comfortable beds. The lanterns automatically light up when you go in, and you're shown the gestures to dim them or turn them off, and as well as they can respond to command words.
But do we have baths?
Each of the rooms has their own private bath, and they're tiled and marble, and most of them are set up to have sort of a mock waterfall to run down into the bath and apply a heating to it. There's little enchanted stones around the pipes and runes carved in, and everything's sort of gold and ivory and marble and just very opulent.
I want this bath in real life. This sounds like something I actually have in my life. This just sounds amazing.
Waterfall into the bath, yes.
But it Garth, will you please make a Constitution saving throw for the first evening?
17.
So while you do not find the wonderful bed to be comfortable, you are able to settle in and get a good night's rest. But you don't understand how people sleep on these things.
It's too soft.
Magnar doesn't sleep on those things. Magnar's actually sleep on the floor.
Yeah,
I was just about to get to you. You're also told that if you'd like, you can lock the door, but that no one will disturb you. And if you put the lock in just the right way, the servants will not bring your breakfast and set it out for you. But otherwise, they will come in and deliver your breakfast in the morning. And then Kira, you're muted.
It's the silence spell
Exactly.
that she casts on the room. No, I was sorry. I was just queuing something up before the night was over. When Anna retires and goes in, she is going to set the lock so the servants don't bring breakfast. She's going to cast Arcane Lock on the door and any windows in the room. And then she's going to do the same thing with Alarm after inspecting every inch of the room with Detect Magic and True Sight. And then after that, she's going to go take a very decadent bath, but just wanted to set how she was setting the room up for the night.
You said you were using Detect Magic?
Detect Magic and True Sight and kind of going around and scoping everything out before warding up.
Make an Arcana check for me.
I shall. That is a 21.
So the room already has some pretty basic wards, nothing necessarily to prevent scrying or anything like that, but just overall safety, keeping the place enchanted. Everything has at least some sort of minor enchantment on it, so there's a lot to look over. But the things that stand out are one of the paintings that hangs in the room. And you imagine this is true for most of the rooms, seems to have a enchantment on it, most likely to scry on like foreign dignitaries or other guests that are here, but it seems to be activatable and deactivatable, so it's not like it's always scrying on you and reporting everything back. And you would imagine that this is for if they are trying to gather intelligence on diplomatic enemies. With Ameresian culture, you know that generally wouldn't be something that they would be trying to pry or spy on anything, but it might be necessary. Uh, but otherwise, your awards go up. You would already detect that there is, with the door at the high end of the lock, it activates an arcane lock and an alarm. You imagine that there are passwords and stuff for security and special codes enchanted that would allow guards or particular individuals to bypass it. So you could put yours up in addition to, but
Yeah,
um,
she probably would, just for tonight at least.
all right. Is anyone else doing anything before settling in for your long rest?
Yeah, sorry, go ahead, go.
And I'll get some alcohol.
You could request it from a servant, and they would happily bring you any of assorted wines that you would like.
All of them, please.
Mix it together.
of
Monsieur, I cannot bring you all of the wine in the cellar, but if you would like to sample a bottle of each of our various varieties, I could have me and a few servants bring those up. Are you sure you can get through all 20?
I've got a bear to help me.
Very well, sir.
Yeah, just leave him at the door.
Of course.
Thank you.
And Hadrian?
Yeah, I take a long bath. Try one more time to take advantage of the vanities to like see if I can cut out some of the black weird shit from my, because like I didn't have a mirror before, so I'm just gonna try one more time. I know as a player, I know it's gonna. Just gonna
Yeah, as you're you're mostly just kind of cutting into yourself, and it,
ouch, yeah.
It's painful, but
I'll heal it, and then I'm gonna go read Elsbeth a bedtime story, and I'm going to go to sleep.
all right. Elsbeth insists on sleeping with Brownie.
Of course, I mean that we've established that he is your guardian, but he can't read bedtime stories. Unfortunately, it is part of his it's his only shortcoming.
That's okay. Garth can read me a story.
No, he can't.
Not yet.
Not yet. He will be able to eventually. Do you know Orcish by any chance?
It's okay. I'm not tired anyway. I'm I'm gonna play with Barry all night. I don't need to go to sleep.
You need to go to sleep, Elspeth.
But I'm not tired.
I know, but a young princess needs her beauty sleep, or else you know when the magical prince or the dwarves come, you're not going to be able to do what they need you to do to help save the kingdom. So you're going to have to get a bit of rest.
Maybe.
How about we can play zombie with Barry for 30 minutes? I'll give you one cookie, and then a bedtime story, and you go to sleep. I'll sing you a lullaby for 4 cookies.
But I'm older than that, so I should get more cookies.
Fine, but then I make them smaller cookies. I just take them and break little.
That'll work perfectly.
Same amount. And I sing her an Ishgardian lullaby. And
so you settle in. You all get your long rests. And you are awoken by the hustle and bustle going on in the palace, people moving through, other doors opening, all around the same time. Those of you who did not put the secure lock have a tray, sort of silver tray set on one of the small hutches with food, coffee that's still steaming, and little dates to stack on with your breakfast. A small pitcher that also has more coffee in it. And sort of some scones and jam. But Westora,
Yes.
and Anais and Magnar. Anais, this would have been left on your door since you had the locks up. And Magnar and Westora, if you guys had put the lock, that would be on the door. Otherwise,
Mine was
it'd be
open.
next to your breakfast. You would find a small, sort of sealed envelope.
Did they leave me food outside the door or just the note?
Just the note.
Okay. I will
Ah.
take mine and read it inside.
I will certainly open mine and eat it while I enjoy my breakfast.
Likewise.
As you guys are all enjoying your breakfast, except for Anais, you would note that it is a summons for this afternoon to have a lunch with Queen Velmont.
We didn't all get summoned?
Nope.
Does
Oh.
do our summons say who the other people were? Or is it just like Anais, you've been
It
summoned?
is basically just Anais, your presence has been formally requested to attend a private luncheon with the Queen in her meeting chambers.
Seems legit to me.
Gosh, probably wants to discuss the resurrection. That was all quite. Yeah, okay, I'll have a chat with her.
Since I've been in the palace before, I'll open the room back up after I read the notes, stuff it in one of my overcoat pockets, and then go find myself breakfast and coffee. And then just
You would easily be able to head down towards the very large sort of dining hall that other guests and people who are still a little hungry can come and get. And for the courtiers as they come in the morning to have sort of a bonding breakfast as they come in and go about their various courtly activities, they can sit down and eat. It's when not being used for like official or fancy functions, it just sort of serves as a there's a word for it that my brain has lost. And it's not cafeteria, but that is the word that I'm finding. But yeah, it's just sort of a mess hall area.
Okay.
Sort of buffet set up like a bit of a buffet with places to sit.
Yeah, she would grab some really quick walking food, like a bun or something like that, and some coffee, and then eventually, when we get around to it, we'll go check on the rest of the party to make sure everybody got through the night okay, and especially Elspeth.
All right. Barry is passed out, Garth, as Elsbeth did not go to sleep until way late. You passed out drunk long before.
I feel like Hadrian is off in the corner of the same room, just like, like barely having slept, but eventually got her down.
And she is passed out with Barry. But you guys were all on kind of the same wing. And the area of the palace, there's different gardens and spots to head out onto the exterior and balconies and long halls. There's armor sort of set up in rows. There's large different paintings on different hallways. There's even spots in the different halls with different couches and chairs and tables set up for people to stop and chat and have meetings. There's these sort of large restrooms. There's a small private library, different meeting rooms with tables and books and hearths. The whole palace is sort of this 3-story, very grand estate. This is not where the throne room and like official court is for citizens and other people to attend. That's in the a different location in the actual like castle for the city. But Westora, especially being a courtier, you would know that this is where most of the politics take place, and the throne room and everything else is more for public court events or meetings with foreigners or larger, more significant instances of state issues.
I want to say, as Anais comes in and sees the scene, she would see Hadrian like just waking up with her book next to him and an open copy of the ice princess of Themyria, on his lap, just sort of like lying back against a cushion, small bags under his eyes. He just morning.
I'm
Goth's
still passed
drunk.
out.
Yeah, Goth's drunk. Barry's passed out. I finally got Elsbeth to sleep. It took a long time.
Good morning. Nice to see you.
I'm not hungover. You're not gonna like hurt my head by being peppy. But good morning. Nice to see you too.
No, I
How
just
are you?
Garth, they are shouting really loud.
it's really strong coffee. It's good stuff.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah. You know, I should get some of that eventually. But how was your night? Was it
No,
good?
okay, can you please get out of my room? If we're going to be yelling like this, it is way too early to be
Sorry.
yelling.
How much did you drink last night?
Wine.
Roll a
Oh,
d6
no.
for me, Garth.
From what I remember, he basically ordered the entire cellar.
Oh, Garth.
5.
There are 5 empty bottles laying on the floor.
Well, that explains that. Sure. Did you get the summons this morning? Are you going to be ready in time for the meeting?
What summons?
She reaches in her overcoat pocket and pulls out a crumpled up summons and just kind of holds it in the air. The queen is asking us for a private luncheon.
I didn't get a letter.
And she looks around. Is the like serving tray of food that they would have been brought there?
Mhm.
Oh, well, that's strange. I'm going to go see if anybody else got one because maybe it's a smaller audience for some reason. Sorry,
Oh, I can't imagine why she wouldn't want to meet with us.
neither can I.
What? Why wouldn't I be?
I'm thinking I have no idea, Garth. All I know is I have one.
Is
And
it-
if it's a one-on-one meeting, it's not a good sign.
Is it because I attacked you?
No, Garth, of course not. You know that she has. Actually, I'm sorry. I don't know if you were there for those conversations. She doesn't
No,
really
he-
like
yeah.
Jill at all, at least publicly. But no, Garth, you didn't do anything wrong. If this is something that she's having a limited audience for, it's for political reasons, planning reasons, something like that. So
Hey, Goth. You know what? I'll talk very quietly, but when you're up for it, you and I can go get a. If we're the only ones who didn't, then we can go have lunch on our own. Not a date. That's not the vibe. Just so you know, we're clearing that up right now. But you know, thing.
once I know what the meeting's about, Garth, I'll send you a sending and try to
Please.
give you some more information on it because I don't think you're being left out for anything that you did at all. I promise.
Right.
By the way, Garth, do you drink coffee? And she just kind of holds the mug up in the air.
No,
Oh, helps with hangovers if you can stomach.
I'll be all right.
Okay.
Can
Well,
I
I
make
just-
Goth a Bloody Mary?
Not with the ingredients in the room.
Go get them then.
I just wanted to say good morning and check on everyone and make sure everybody's okay and kind of inclines her head towards Elsbeth as she's sleeping. I'm going to go do rounds with everybody else,
Yeah, good idea.
but I'll let you know as
She
soon as I
needed
know.
to
Yes,
go cookies.
please.
And she'll wander off to the next room.
Stora, I assume you're enjoying your morning bath.
I probably am, yes. With the door locked. Don't want any
Okay.
servants walking in on me.
All right. So you would try the door for Wistora and find it locked with the sealed lock.
You probably actually can hear on the other side faintly a voice
The
going,
singing.
"Never gonna give you up."
Yeah, immediately
Sound
just
of
be
the
like,
battery
oh,
running.
okay, that's our girl. Okay.
What would come to Magnar's room? How would Anais find Magnar?
Magnar is he's asleep on the floor, and there's a tray has been left just by his head.
Just okay, passed out on the floor.
Bed completely untouched.
Yes.
I'm assuming. Can I see the invitation sitting on the tray?
Yeah, it's right there.
Okay. She's gonna like ponder the scene in front of her for a moment and just take a moment to double hand the coffee and just sip on it. She looks at the scene in front of her, and she's going to cough lightly and then increase the cough until she can get a response from the dozing dwarf.
Ah. Oh. Hello. Oh. Evening. Morning.
Morning.
Morning. Can't tell. I shot the shorty things. Can't see the light. You been there long? That's a bit. Hello.
No, about 10 seconds or something like that. I was just checking on everybody, and
Oh, you brought me breakfast. Thank you very much.
I wish I could take credit for it, but no, that was the servants. It looks like they came in and left you something.
Oh, they're very quiet about it. It's good of them.
They're very stealthy. There is a bit of an interesting extra piece on your breakfast too, and she points over at the envelope. Apparently, I'm hazarding a guess because that's the same teal envelope that I have. We've just been invited to a private lunch with the queen.
Oh, right. Hang on a sec. Opens it, reads through it. Yeah, you're not wrong. Lunch and private. Well, okay. Is it so? All of us? Not all of us, you say?
Hadrian and Garth didn't get one. I don't know if Astora did or not. She's in a bath right now.
That's not terribly surprising. Well, you know, you are her personal sort of inquisitor, so that makes some sense. And I had a conversation with her while she was dead, and she might want to dig into that a little bit more. So I guess that makes sense. But she does know that all of us were involved in this. I don't know why. Yeah, that's odd. Well, we can ask her when we see her. I'm sure it's just an oversight.
I'm thinking it might be something along the lines of, yes, you ended up resurrecting her. I'm part of the Inquisitorial Guard, and then Westora is the best out of all of us when it comes to diplomacy and having proper civilized conversation. Still kind of odd that she didn't have Garth or Hadrian there in any. It actually bothered Garth quite a lot, it seems, and he wondered
it
if
should.
it was. Understandably, he thinks it's because he attacked Jill, which I was trying to assure him that that's not the reason.
Right, no, that whatever the reason is, it's not that.
At least I hope not. If we go into if we go
Well,
into
better
lunch
not
and
be.
Jill's standing there, then there's going to be
Oh,
a fun
well,
time.
Jill. Yeah, I was looking forward to that lunch. Now, let's just hope that's not happening.
That's just dark humor. I don't think that's going to happen, but it looks like everybody made it through the night without incident. So hopefully we can have lunch here in a bit and get to the bottom of some of. By the way, did you say that there was a conversation when you casted Resurrection?
Oh yes.
Like in your head?
No, no. I mean, do you remember I mentioned the other evening that she had divine wings? No, she was in a sort of ethereal palace surrounded by all of her ancestors and was having quite a long chat with them and didn't seem entirely convinced that she was dead.
Oh shit.
And right, then I had to sort of remind her of some of the events that had occurred, and they started manifesting themselves. As did you actually in a conversation that you had with her. You turned up, and that really seemed to sort of help ground her and remind her of her responsibilities, and she acquiesced to me escorting her back to the land of the living.
That's amazing. I've heard a lot of different accounts of the ways that divine magic expresses itself, especially in intense moments or intense rituals or intense spells, but I mean, she probably wants you there because you resurrected her, but you also know a secret now that nobody else really knows about her.
Oh, the divine heritage thing. Yes.
Yeah, that's not really something that is talked about in polite circles or that most even know to talk about.
Right. Well, I'm sure she'll tell me to keep it under wraps, and I'll keep it a little bit more under wraps than perhaps I have been.
Did I look normal?
Yeah, you just seem to be having a conversation with her that like she was recalling something. It was.
Background noise, I suppose. All right. Well,
Well, I asked her to think back to the people who really were alive and not because I asked her when she'd last had a conversation with any of the dead people, and she couldn't recall. So I asked her to remember conversations that she had had recently, and boing,
Oh,
there you were.
very clever.
Well, I don't know. It was all a bit. It worked, which was what matters.
It is. It's just that's definitely some good thinking on your thinking on your feet, especially in a tense situation like that after the battle that you just went through. So, hopefully, it's just
Yes,
a
I
thinking
did actually
lunch.
go a little bit wrong when I said remember the bat, and then all sort of hell scary things turned up. I'm like, no, don't remember that bit. Anyway, besides
Well,
the point.
Magnar, you were called in that strange palace that you had gone into. The same ink that comes out of Hadrian and that Godric leaked was almost trying to creep in the more and more the plane dissolved.
Oh, that's right. Yes, we did get out of there in a hurry as that started to happen. Yes, no, yeah, the palace in that realm started getting the sort of inky, creepy stuff on the edges, which may have helped persuade her that it was not a good place to be standing.
I wish that you could talk to one of the. I mean, nothing to say that you couldn't, but talk to one of the lifelong clerics or some of the other holy individuals that we have here about that experience because that does seem pretty rare.
Well, it's the first time I've resurrected anybody, so I didn't have much to go on, but it's certainly not how it had been described to me when I learnt it.
Well, that's the thing about divine magic is arcane typically sticks to what's on the paper for the most part, but divine is kind of a freeform style of magic.
Oh, yes, yes. I've experienced that first pull.
Well, hopefully, and in the future, resurrection isn't such an intense ordeal, and hopefully you don't have to cast it that many times.
Well, yes, hopefully not. Yes, but yes, Garth's god turned me into a rabbit. I'm sure that's not in the books either. So
You turned into a rabbit?
yes,
When did that happen?
we went on the hunting to
Oh,
see Nylea. That was yes.
oh,
So,
you
yeah,
mean when I was holding the kid that I had magically knocked out with half my face burned off?
right? Yes, yes.
Didn't hear that. That must have been an interesting experience.
It really was. But to your point, yes, gods have their own peculiar, wonderful ways of doing any particular thing and hammering a point home. And for
They
some
do.
reason, turning me into rabbit was what was necessary to get a point over to Garth.
I guess there's something to the old saying that they work in mysterious ways.
Yeah, I wish they'd just get to the bloody point half the time, but yes.
Well, just like Hadrian, I'm going to. I think Westora's going to be in there for a bit. I don't know when she started her bath, but she'll see the invitation. I'm sure. So I'm going to go check with some of my fellows and just see if I can pick up any news of anything going on, and then I'll see you at lunch.
Yes. Or, I'm sure I can just ask one of the orderlies how I find my way there.
I have to do that half the time myself. And did the oh, it did tell us what garden it was on in the invite, right, Frosty?
Yeah.
Okay, yeah. Just ask an orderly; they'll get you there.
Yes, because I actually managed to live in the house that we were in for quite some time before realizing that it had a garden. So, yes, the fact that there are multiple gardens with different names is a good thing to know.
Well, and the only way that you're ever going to find them is if you know what flowers bloom in what season, because that's the theme. It's a just ask an orderly. It's way easier.
Right. Well, I got a hang of the different wings and when they were assembled, just based on the sort of the rocks and stones that were used in different eras and periods. So I can find my way around inside a little easier, but outside, yeah, gonna need
Not
some
so much.
pointers.
Well, I'll let you all know if I hear any rumors or anything, but I want to say that hopefully it's going to be an uneventful lunch. So, all right.
All right.
She keeps sipping her coffee and heads out.
Is anyone doing anything this morning or in the early parts of the day?
Yeah, I think when Restora is finished getting ready, which is probably about an hour or so after Anais was there, and that includes not just the bath. That includes sitting down at the vanity,
All the pomp
for
and
all the pious
circumstance.
right. She combs her hair. She tries to get it just right, stuff like that. And then when she leaves, she's wearing.
You would notice a little bell on the vanity, which, as a courtier, you would know would be to summon ladies in waiting,
Ladies in
anything to handle it for you.
I luckily, because I have a magic item that can make my clothing look whatever I want, I don't actually need ladies in waiting to help me with like a corset or complicated dresses or anything like that. Um, uh, and I don't summon them just because I can. That would be a bit too much, even for a Stora. So so when I do leave my room, everything's immaculately done, and I'm wearing this beautiful dress. Has it sheens like ice. It has like snowflake patterns on the embroidery, um, and um, and it's just this lovely sort of low cut uh, bodies. Very very lovely dress. And I go out, and what I would like to do now that I got all that out of the way is I would like to try and speak to some of the people who are like around the wings, having meetings, ingratiate myself a bit. But in particular, I want to learn what's going on in the city with some of the things we saw, the gallows, stuff like that. What kind of rumors people are having. Just sort of casual conversation and trying to like convince people, like just tell me a little bit more. You can tell me a little bit more. Yeah, try. Yeah. Just tell me a bit more. What's really going on? That kind of stuff.
One moment, Nick. I'll get to you in a so zealous. Let's start. Will you make an investigation check, but use your charisma bonus instead of intelligence?
I was really trying to go for persuasion. That's why I was talking about like trying to convince people to tell me a little bit more. I keep creating these social situations, and you have me roll non-social skills.
You can do
Okay.
persuasion. I'll allow persuasion.
Okay. That's a difference of like a lot, by the way, because I have expertise in persuasion. Well, I didn't go through. Yeah. 16.
All right. So, sort of again, chatting up and schmoozing and talking to people, and you would learn that the various houses are extremely outraged at the audacity of Wallachia attempting to assassinate the queen, especially on her birthday. Like, not just it to them, it is not just you made an attempt on the queen's life, but like you were trying to make a statement, and we are hearing that statement and pissed about it. There's a lot of calls to start raising a formal army, building alliances. People are talking about connections that they have in different countries. Couple people are mentioning that they do know a few people in Wallachia that they might be able to buy information from and figure out the state of the Wallachian army. Additionally, it seems to be the impression of a lot of the people here that the mysterious guest that attacked was a powerful warlock that of Wallachian, or at least working with Wallachia, and that they're responsible for the uprising, that they're sowing discontent amongst the city, and that Wallachians have been sort of poisoning the well a little bit in the common populace for quite some time, and they'll need to start taking a sterner approach. You do catch brief discussions that a couple people are going to recommend to the queen to activate the teleportation wards around the country to prevent anyone who doesn't have passwords from being able to teleport into the country as a security measure. And there is stress about a plague that seems to be affecting the populace, including students and nobles alike, and the expense of getting what you make an Arcana check. See if you can understand what kind of ingredient they're talking about.
Sure. No. No, I rolled a nat one, so I got a 6.
So they're using some sort of foreign word to describe a material that the guild of the Estrian Guild seemed to be the only way to supply, and you do catch hints that these people from the people talking about it, that they're aware that the guild is violating the ban on travel to the lands of Ul'dah to acquire this material, but that they need it to treat this sickness. Seems to be the only, combined with various alchemical and sorcerous reagents, that they're able to create something that can at least seem to cure this plague. And they are also talking about looking into communicating with Jeru about some of the magical plants and herbs that grow in Jeru to see if those might present an alternative. But that this plague seems to be causing people to act in very strange and unusual ways. Some of them seem to go comatose. Some of them just seem to suffer pain until it sort of, while it festers in them, they have black spotches on their body that will sometimes drip a ichorish black ink, and it's extremely painful and uncomfortable for them. They get dizzy and everything like that, but eventually it seems to overwhelm and kind of finally take over the individual, who will suffer either several people have eaten themselves to death, like not ate themselves, but just stuffed their face until they literally died. Some people just go into a coma and can't seem to be woken up. Others become extremely violent. Others, supposedly, there was even a couple that was found, a noble couple of Witherbloom that was found, had indulged their passions for such an extent of time that they starved to death.
Well, if you've got to go.
You also hear that all the survivors of the uprising, that there was a small rebellion force, are going to be publicly executed in 5 days. All the ones that were taken prisoner.
That's probably what the gallows are for then.
Other than that, there's a lot of concerns about safety and how to prevent such things. There's a lot of discussion and debate over how to keep the populace safe, and ways to, and they range from everything of extreme crackdowns of like revoking all foreign licenses to practice magic, kicking people out of the country. Those are some of the more extreme options. Some of the lighter ones are calling in a review of licenses and have people's magic and stuff studied and reviewed, or increasing the guard count, recruiting from Strixhaven Academy into the law mages, stuff like that.
Okay.
And supposedly, lastly, there is a ceremony being planned to award some people that were involved in helping the queen and were saving people during the masquerade. And there's a lot of different stories and different descriptions of these individuals that people are kind of exchanging about, you definitely catch one as like an exaggerated description of Garth, of this like crazy orc barbarian that was a guest, probably Marcusian,
Wait,
with a giant axe and an owlbear pet.
Did you say exaggerated?
Come on, keep going. What were the rest of the exaggerated descriptions? We want to hear them all now.
It'd be funny if somebody said, "Yeah, there's this woman who is all springy and she changed to ice right for it." Oh wait.
I mean, and there are wild stories. You definitely recognize these sort of exaggerated versions of yourself, and some of them like are just people who you don't even recognize. Like it's not just you.
I'm positive. Like I actually am not 100% convinced that the ceremony is for us per se. That would be obviously the natural conclusion. But there were other people involved.
Yeah.
In the fight, so So I'm going to take that with a grain of salt. If somebody tells us otherwise, then yeah, but I'm just going to assume.
But yeah, and then that's sort of what you spend the early afternoon doing.
Yeah.
Hadrian.
Sorry, I was gonna say. So I would go down to find the ingredients to make Goth a bloody Ohania, and I after I remember I made this drink in Ishgard, and then I feel like I rolled a nat 1 on my cooking check. So like there's just like olives and like a whole fish bone goes in, and wait, this isn't right. And I just like chuck it away, bring it like 2 bottles of wine up to Goth, and just
Man.
hair of the hair of the dog. We also need to talk, and apparently we're not invited to the cool kids party, so let's have lunch together. But yeah, we can do that scene whenever. I said I try to make this thing just like chuck it, and probably it burns a hole in a wall or something like that as I get rid of the terrible drink that I've just made. Yeah.
All
So-
right. Well, before we get into the lunch between Garth and Hadrian and the lunch with the Queen, we are going to take a break. So, James, will you cue up our break screen? Thank you, everyone. We'll be back shortly. All right. So, as you guys spend the early parts of the morning going about your various business, Hadrian and Garth are going to go have lunch together. Are you guys having lunch in the palace, or are you going out?
Oh, I'm probably just bringing up the wine and a bottle of grape juice for Elsbeth to the room, right? I don't. Do you want to go out, Goth? Or?
I don't like it in here.
Oh yeah, let's get the fuck outside then. Yeah, let's go to a park or something like that, right? Like,
Yeah. A courtyard or something.
Yeah. Oh, there was this great one with a fountain I saw before. We should go there.
Yeah, you guys could make your way through the palace.
Yeah.
The large
just like
openings with
just
garden.
sort of have a picnic like blanket and for Elsbeth and Barry, and just pour out some wine. I think there's a long silence of Hadrian just like,
Just eating a lunch.
yeah, I'm really sorry about was it a day and a half ago now? We were all having that conversation, and I know that I told Magnum to get the fuck over something, and
It's all right. It's I shouldn't have raised my voice like that.
No, but but you were right to. Like I was being callous, and I knew that you were in the room, and I know what you've gone through with things in Valencia and your family, and I was talking to Magna, but I didn't think about the fact that you would hear it, and I'm sorry, right? Like
it's all right.
Okay.
It's all right.
Because yeah, I you know, there's a lot of I feel like being hated by you would be sort of the last nail in the coffin for me. So I just I really don't like I feel
Why
like
would that be the last nail in the coffin?
Because you're a pretty nice, pure person. Seems like you don't hate people easily.
Oh, I mean, there are a couple people I do hate.
Oh, tell me about them.
Oh, Jill.
Yeah,
For
okay, but
one.
that's a fucking obvious one. Like, come on, who doesn't hate Jill?
A lot of the nobility, I don't really hate per se. Just
no, you don't like them. That's the thing, right? But yeah, you yeah.
But yeah, it's not a long list.
Could you write it out? Sorry, that was a bad joke.
No, I couldn't.
I know. I'm sorry. I'm joking with you, Goth. I'm trying to be funny, and I'm failing miserably. Pour out more wine.
You really should take it easy. It's just lunch. Got a whole day yet.
Yeah, but I don't usually drink that much, generally speaking, and I don't know. I feel.
Would you like lessons?
Hey, that's not a bad idea. You teach me to drink, and I can teach you to write. How does that sound?
Not bad.
Shouldn't
Can
do them
you-
both at the same time, though.
Can you write in Orcish?
I can write in various scripts. The thing is, I don't really know. Like, I didn't know that I could speak Primordial until I did it. Like, there's a lot of gaps in my mind.
Worth a shot. I don't have any interest in other languages besides English.
That's fine. I can try. I mean, it could be terrible, but whatever.
Might be a bit funny.
Could be hilarious, yeah. Like Mad Libs almost. Sorry, that's a weird reference. It's an Ishgardian game that we used to play. I know I mentioned this to the others, but you weren't there. I just you're trying to get closer to your goddess, right?
Yeah.
You and Addis mentioned before that her daughter or her wolf friend or something is guarding Aldwin's sword.
I'm a little fuzzy on the details.
Yeah, no, I so am I, but I just hope it's something we can look into together, because I feel like there's a lot you want to learn and there's a lot I have to.
I mean, I've only really spoken to her twice.
Were they enlightening conversations?
Kinda, maybe. She's very. She doesn't say much. She says a lot of words that don't really mean much.
I see.
It's a bit confusing.
Does she punch you and beat the shit out of you and chuck you against a rock and tell you to attack her?
No, she turned Magna and Cadorus into bunnies.
Well, then I'd say she's a damn sight better than Mogus, at least. That's funny.
Then she
Wait.
sent wolves after me.
Oh, well, that's less funny.
Yeah, it's a bit. I don't really. She asked
Everyone,
Hunter.
hydrate.
Hydrate.
Hydra.
Thank you, Dalkor.
Our first redeem. Thank you.
As I pull a sip of wine and then water, and well, you wanted to look more into her, so I at least cheers to your god being slightly less murderous than the one that took an interest in me. I mean, fuck all of them, but she seems better. So
I mean, she's. I don't know what I'm really getting into, to be honest.
but that seems to be a common theme with you, whether it's a goddess asking for your loyalty or Cadora's asking for your romantic interest.
Yeah, I guess I've been. What's the word?
Clueless, oblivious,
Sheltered
sheltered. Not the word I would have picked, but maybe.
to how most things work. It's all a bit much at once. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Yeah, I really do. I wish I could help you, but I don't really remember much before now. So it's sort of like either I remember being some sort of weird, like, evil murder creature, or an idiot caught up in the machinations of the fate gods. Can't really help you with societal shit.
Right. I don't expect anyone to really help.
I think you should ask Elspeth and Barry.
Maybe Barry. I don't know if she seems about as lost as I am.
Yeah.
I think she might really think she's a zombie.
How do you know she isn't one?
I've fought them before.
But she bit me. I'd say loudly as Elspeth is still with us, and I think the reason I'm not interested in lunch now is that I want brains, and I'm gonna start chasing.
No, Garth, it's a zombie. We
Garth.
have to run.
I'm gonna chase Garth, and I got the scene there if you want.
All right. So, on East Wistora and Magnar, so you guys make your way through the palace to the area that the invitation specifies. You're led up to a section on the third floor of the palace that, as you walk out through the doors, is a very long section of the building that has on one side just a huge glass wall that rises up onto the ceiling and the sun beaming through, and see all kinds of plants and bushes sort of set up in long rows and in little patches. There's a bit of an awning set up inside that covers these very comfy looking silk covered chairs, sort of and around a glass and gold table. The side you can see a very nice spread of various like cucumber sandwiches and fruits, a few cheeses and sliced meats and crackers are arranged. There's several different drink options ranging from juice to wine to water. And you do notice there are no guards here. You don't see any law mages. And there is a small harp on one side, just slightly stringing away on its own, providing a sort of ambiance and pleasantness to it. Sitting in one of the chairs around the table, you can see the Queen, Avril, in a red and blue gown that's looks rather expensive and extravagant. Sort of, it's got a bit of a, not necessarily a jacket, but just sort of comes up across the shoulders and on the side of the arm, and has some red and crimson trim, and comes up in sort of a over the bust and down into the corset and long flowing robes. And she's got a small case next to her, and there's a servant still like setting a few things out. As she sees you guys enter, she dismisses them, and the young woman kind of moves past you and gives you all a bow and heads out.
Just by coincidence, Frosty, when I last changed my skills to gain the cooking utensils, I gained 2 proficiencies in tools or instruments, and the instrument I picked happened to be a harp. So I think Wistora is going to go over and not do much, just maybe play a light tune on the harp before sitting. Like, I'm not trying to impress anybody. I'm just playing
just
instruments.
kind of recall.
Yeah, this is some distant memory, and just plucking a few strings, and then sort of nod, and then go and sit down.
Now we know what Never Gonna Give You Up sounds like on a harp.
That's right. This time I do like a different song. I do like Time After Time. That'd be pretty.
That'd be good. That'd be good.
That would actually be
Yeah.
As Wistora goes over to the harp and then comes over to sit down. On an East and Magnar, do you guys do anything as you enter, or
Just the standard kind of like partial bow that an Inquisitor would give in a more formal setting, and then go find a seat.
Yeah, and Wistora does, of course, curtsy um, that's appropriate. A deep curtsy before sitting.
And Magnar?
He walks in and then just sort of does a decent bow, and then stares awkwardly at the seats, working out where he should try and sit down.
Good afternoon to all of you. I hope you're finding your stay in the palace pleasant and welcoming.
It is an amazing amount of generosity that you've given us to allow us to stay in such a magnificent palace.
It is the least and only the start that I could do. Uh, After everything that you and your friends did for me and the people of Anoris on my birthday, there is I would not say debt, but level of gratitude that I would like to express to all of you. And while I do intend to honor your entire group in the coming days, and I'm arranging a ceremony for them and all of you, I did want to offer something a bit more personal to the three of you. Well, I know all of you and your companions were instrumental in saving people as well as my own life and stopping both the Valakian assassin and the individual I believe you called Godric and his attempt on my life. To be frank, the other two strain my patience and temperament. And I wanted this to be a pleasant lunch, and at least one of them I do not believe would make that possible. And the other, I understand that he helped get the guests out, but the three of you in particular each played the most significant role in saving my life. Between yourself, Madame, gesturing to Astora, placing yourself in front of attack after attack, attempting to stand in the way of this individual, to the Inquisitor, who, despite her duty, and went above and beyond, exhausting your magic to counter his many warlock spells, and the dwarven priest that managed to reach into what I can only assume is the barrier between this world and the next, and remind me of the obligation we nobles have, and call me back to this one. You'll each have my personal thanks, and I would like to present to you these gifts. To our Inquisitor, she kind of opens the case, and you guys can't quite see what's in it, and she reaches in a little bit deeper than the case seems to allow and pulls out a glorious rapier that seems to have a blue sheen, almost crystalline blade with a diamond encrusted hilt, like cage for the hand, gold inlay. The Ito Lumiere. This is for you. I hope it will aid you and protect you. Be careful, the magic in it can be exhausted and it will become quite brittle should that happen. So use it with caution and care.
Anna looks completely stunned, like speechless, which I don't think anybody's ever seen her in quite a state. So Magnar and Wastor are the first two. And she looks like a kid all of a sudden as she like bows deeply in her seat and then gently reaches across for the rapier from the queen. Thank you. Thank you so much.
No, it is I who should be thanking you. You have always served Emery's with distinction and compassion, and you rose to an occasion when so many others fled. To you, Madame Fresnel, I present. She pulls out what looks like a hairpin with a white rose that seems to emit sort of a slight cold aura. There's a little blue trim along the flower petals, and you're unsure if it's metal or alive, as the petals seem so thin and silky, they billow a little bit in the wind. The Floraison Blanche. Wear it with pride.
It is a most generous gift. I do not know what to say to such generosity.
You have said so much with your actions. And lastly, the dwarven priest. I know not which god you serve or worship, but here in Emeris, the greatest gods that we pay homage to are Ale and Irun. And so I present to you one of the most treasured trinkets of our great priests, crafted during the founding of Emeris, the Jeton d'Uro. And she hands out this very precious, ornate sort of medallion that depicts a dragon's wing wrapping around a great city with its head rising to protect it. Little jewels inlaid for each of the shining windows of magic. And the whole thing, it seems to be made from gold or some kind of golden material. The level of detail and work of each individual scale on this medallion that is about as round, a little bit bigger than a golf ball, and sort of its total circumference. And it looks like it's got a little clasp to either pin on or to hold a cloak or anything like that. And it feels warm to the touch, almost like it's alive or blessed, and you can feel the divine magic on it as you hold it in your hand.
Your Majesty, this is a most exquisite work. You may not be familiar with my god Deska, the god of the forge, but also of craftsmen. And whilst whoever crafted this may have had other divine blessings, clearly the work was blessed by my god too, for this is exquisite. And then he seems to be lost in it slightly, just sort of turning it this way and that and catching the sun on it. And yeah, stops talking.
As the sun shimmers across the scales, you notice that despite the gold color, depending on where you tilt it in the sun, the scales sort of shimmer a slightly different chromatic dragon's color between the bronze and silver and gold and platinum.
Yeah, okay. The rest of the world has gone to Magnar at this point. He's he's just twisting and turning it and looking at it, and has forgotten that the queen is even there.
She kind of smiles a little bit, letting you watch. No. To the next order of business, I must say, your party and group seem somewhat familiar with the individual who invaded my party and attacked me. And while all the evidence points to them being in league with the Valakians and seemingly connected to the rebels and uprising here in Amaris, I am desperate to know anything you can tell me about this individual, for I have never seen the likes of his powers or abilities, nor how he conjured such a dragon. It is unheard of. And if we are to combat this enemy and prepare ourselves, I need to know what we are up against.
As you say before, the man's name is Godric. What we know of him, is a being of Ishgard, who was perhaps trapped sent to another place. As I understand it, um, while there, I think he sort of drew some connection to some ancient dark being. There was a ritual.
Do you know who this being is?
Magnar, I don't seem to recall the name. Do
Ye-
you?
You know, Your Majesty, much as you're absolutely right that I suspect we wouldn't be having quite such a pleasant time eating these lovely sandwiches had you brought the entire party to this luncheon, um, you might have had some more direct answers to some of your questions. My short-term memory is not fantastic, but I do write quite a lot down. I can go and consult me notes and get back to you on that.
Out of character, Frosty. If Anna remembers anything, I think I'd need to be told or make a for that.
Yeah, out of character, I just don't remember if we learned the name. There was two figures. There's that figure. There's also the
You never learned its name.
madness. Okay.
You never learned its name.
Okay. That then I can just say no. But we did learn the name of the other entity, the crazy,
Yes.
madness-inducing one. Yeah. No, we never did learn this
I see.
being's name. However, this being was released in the world through a ritual. A ritual that I am unfortunately was involved in at the time.
A willing involvement in such a ritual?
Willing, but not knowing the ramifications of it at the time. I
see.
was serving my own. Jill
Well,
participated in the ritual.
your involvement, I will not hold against you in light of your activities. I do not believe you intended to endanger my life.
Thank you.
But I would keep that information at this table because the other Amarisians would likely not consider such activity worthy
I believe, in all honesty, I myself am a warlock, and I doubt the Amarisians would take kindly to me regardless.
I had some suspect, but I intend to keep that between us.
But yes, so there was this ritual to bring this being. This ritual brought the being, and with him, Godric. Godric is embodied, is possessed by, is controlled by, is in league with this being. Jill and the other participants of the ritual wish to harness the power of this being for themselves to become gods.
So you are aware of who the other participants were?
Yes, I am.
Do you believe that they might know more of what this entity is?
I do. And I believe one of the participants does wish to ally with you in the upcoming struggles with Wallachia. My own patron,
I see.
Zamora of the Changing Colors, the Queen of the Autumn Court.
A royal fae involved in such a ritual is concerning, to say the least, and the fact that they seek an alliance, I have to admit to a bit of trepidation to such a thing.
They are the fae. You would trepidation with any agreement with them is only reasonable, even in the best of circumstances. But I do know you need allies, and they would be a powerful one if you are cautious and you prevent yourself from overcommitting. You might be able to strike a balance.
I'll certainly take it into consideration. I do know of several of our wizards and sorcerers that know how to communicate with the Fae and can reach out to this
I-
Zomia of the Changing Colors.
Yes. And I do know from rumors I've heard that I know that the resources needed to treat the plague are limited, and some think that perhaps more resources might exist. It's available to those in Daru and its connection to the Feywild. But there's still more to the story. Speaking of this plague, it seems to be tied to this being. The being, by the way, what we understand it is a godlike being from before the gods. The gods destroyed many of them. That's how they became gods. And this is one of those beings that they
I'm
must not have
familiar with the
destroyed.
stories of the primordials, but I was under the impression that they had all been slain.
Apparently
in the
not.
Mythic Age.
At least two that we know of have survived. There is this unknown being, and there is another being of madness.
If these entities exist, it would be could lead to devastation for
I can assure
all
you
of
they
Endara.
exist.
This is terribly frightening. There's so much at play here that seems to be tied to ancient and dangerous things and actions that
I
I
know.
cannot even imagine their reach to try and commune with these things and ritually summon it. And this is truly terrifying. And while there is another matter I would like to discuss and had intended to ask each of you your part to look into, I would hope you don't mind, but I might need to ask you to take on a task for me and for the good of Amaris and all of Endara.
I would be honored.
I
And
would.
we all do wish to prevent, for all of our various reasons, to prevent Godric, who we think will return, and this dark being from accomplishing whatever destructive plans they have.
And not to take us completely off topic, but it is related. Jill did mention, and you both might know more about this. I just remember hearing it while I was getting water out of my ears. But Jill seemed to have developed a cure or treatment for the plague that you were talking about, by the way.
Yes, he has been the one who's been developing the cure through the residium salts that he gets from Astria. However, Astria has only been providing us with a limited amount because we refuse to condone their use of slavery and offer sanctuary and freedom to any of the slaves that make it to our lands. So they are restricting the amount of business that they will do with us.
Hmm.
And I fear that if I am not able to reach a peace with Wallachia, and we do indeed go to war, that if we do not acquiesce to the Astrian demands, they will withhold more and turn their allegiances to Wallachia, who I'm sure will be more than happy to indulge in such illicit trade.
I hope that I do not know if Zamira would have any answers that could help find an alternative cure. But as you said, she likely knows much about this being, more so than anyone else I can think of. And there was, in addition, I've only mentioned 2 of the participants. You should know that there were others as well. Gosh, I have to remember their names now.
Oh, the
Okay.
Aldaran chap.
Yes,
I believe you said his name was Ali Sanchez, something like that.
that's right. Yes. Yes, I met him at Jill's house one time here in
Wait,
Emprys.
you're saying one of the people behind this ritual was from Uda?
Yes, where's Aldar stand in the coming war?
It's forbidden for anyone in Lumaria to cross the inland sea to Uda or the land bridge. Cotania keeps a strict guard on it after Alduin's fall, but if there was an Uldan in this ritual, that means they've set foot on Lumaria, which makes what I was intending to talk to you about a little clearer.
Ah,
And you
there-
say Gilles was involved in this ritual.
Jill, Zamara, Ala Sanchez, and Silko of Wallachia.
Why would the criminal lord of Wallachia be interested in such a... That is beside the point. This is a good lead. You see, all of my chevalier were assassinated in the week leading up to the masquerade. And Gilles' men and inquisitors stepped in for security and seemed to focus on helping the people. Gilles himself and his inquisitors have since vanished. And during the murder investigation of the Chevalier, it appears one of the Chevalier managed to at least fight back, and we believe they disintegrated one of their assailants. And all that was left was this dagger. And she reaches back into the thing and pulls out this, what looks like a solid piece of a black metal with this tarnished gold kind of veins wrapping around and twisting around it. And it looks sort of like an inverted semi-crescent, but coming off of it are 2 sort of hooks that come down in a sharp angle. Like it's designed to just rip through flesh and carved to extreme levels of sharpness. And there doesn't seem to be any like forged hilt or handle to hold it, except for a little bit of cloth wrapped around one of the sharp ends that comes off of the crescent. But the whole thing looks sharp on every edge and pointed in each direction. And she says, "This is made from Uldan glass. And my researchers have identified it as an artifact from the capital city of Uldar that should have no place in the lands of Lumiria. And I am nervous to have anyone in my courts investigate such a thing, because I do not believe this to be an isolated situation. The amount of work and deception it would take to assassinate my chevalier hints at a much grander conspiracy."
Is the dagger familiar to me at all? Did I ever see one?
You have probably seen them before. Very commonly used by Alduin's army. But if you are one of Deska, you might be able to determine how it was forged if you are a servant of Deska, and see if it is a reproduction or the original. But I would ask for you and your party to look into this as well. The last time anything from Uldar made it onto Lumerian soil, it was a war, but a world war that shaped the future of all the nations, and only through the help of the gods were we able to stop Alduin.
I think we'd have vested interest in investigating it.
Oh, I don't think you'll have any complaints from me on that front. No.
I
Alas.
agree.
Interesting choice of. Right. Yes, I'm sure that dagger tells quite the tale.
There is one last avenue that I believe I can only entrust to your group. The people of Amaris and the other noble houses and I myself feel a deep rage at the Valakians for their attempt on my life, and as far as we can tell, being in league with this Godric. However, while the push is for a war, and I would like to see nothing greater than to finally put a stop to the servants and children of Alduin and their dark ways, Ao learned the cost of war most deeply himself, and sought peace with his enemies in creating the pantheon of the gods. And I would not be his scion if I was not willing to do the same. I, however, doubt I will be able to persuade the people without something actionable, and would like to ask, on behalf of myself, the people of Emeris, and all of Lumeria, if you would be willing to travel to Valakia and pursue any avenue of peace that I might find and exploit to prevent an even greater war than the one with Altwin.
I seek nothing but peace, and I can think of nothing more noble than to try to perform such a task.
I can tell you that whatever their decisions, there will need to be a penance for their actions. But I hope that something can be worked out to prevent further atrocities. Until then, I will be hard pressed to stop Amaris from preparing for war.
Anna's just quietly listening and is like, looks like she's expecting Magnar and Vestora to do most of the talking for some reason.
I know I have put so much on your plate and asked you to do so. There are things, in addition to uncovering anything you can about Godric or these people behind the ritual or what they were attempting. I will have my own look into it, but in light of events and this grander conspiracy going on, I must admit to a bit of desperation and hope in reaching to outsiders and trusting one of my own.
Well, that's not entirely surprising. I mean, yes, Jill was clearly treacherous, and you don't know how far his reach extends. So stepping to us, I can see that.
And without evidence, I cannot accuse him.
No, granted. And he's a slippery fellow, tries to do things a bit of an arm's reach, so that might be difficult to nail things to. And I can see the point that you're going to have to do now but prepare for war, given that war's been declared. But if there is a more pragmatic solution than giant fields of bloodshed, then I'm all for it.
As am I.
Is there a way of seeking audience on your behalf with the Valakians? If we're going to try to negotiate a peace, we'll need to have some sign of authority that we speak for you. Otherwise, they're not going to trust some random people who show up at the door without something.
I cannot provide you with any official diplomatic authority. For if it was to get out, it would cause many political problems here. However, what I can do is write you a personal signed letter that you are speaking for me to present to anyone, or to one that you are able to negotiate with, or that is open to negotiation.
It sounds like this is a bit more of a sort of a fact-finding mission. Like, go and find out what might be possible and what they might agree to, and then you'd have that to work with.
Precisely. I do not know what avenues of peace will be available with the Valakians. The hatred between our two lands runs deep. They sought, in their minds, the war their following of Aldwin was to unite the world into a glorious single empire, the likes of which had not been seen since the Mythic Age.
Well, given that we got this Silco fellow over there who's taking part of this ritual, like the motives of leadership and everything else, the people might be being told one thing and might be rallying behind, with the motives of those at the tops being entirely to their own self-interest. So if we can uncover or discover aspects of that, we might find a way to divert this at the source, rather than actually have it turn out that you're fighting an entire nation, which you rarely are, to be honest.
Usually you are fighting the leaders, and the people are the ones who suffer.
But they won't see that without some very glaringly obvious, well, even with a very glaringly obvious sign, they might not notice it. Depends how entrenched they are. But yes, we can see what we can find out.
Your Majesty, what does that mean in regards to me? Because if I show up in any official capacity, it's going to be linked back.
I am afraid that I may have to accept your offered resignation for the time being.
It makes sense, logically.
But you will happily be welcomed back when the time is right.
Of course.
We could not afford to lose such a talented inquisitor.
There was something else
Yes.
that we were hoping to.
Oh, yes. Pardon me. I have hogged the conversation. It is.
No,
sure.
no, please. It's not like this is you have obviously have a great number of very important things to discuss, and this is primary of importance, what we've been going over, and we wish to help in any way we can. But one of our companions, perhaps the one who has come off the most rude or direct, has an affliction. He seems to have a connection to Godric in this darkness, similar to how many of those here suffer from this plague, which seems to be related to this because it seems to manifest itself in this blacky ickiness. And in our companion's case, it reveals itself as these dark black wings of ink. We are trying to find a way to help cure him. He feels that, as you describe people getting angry, he feels that it leads to impulses he does not like. And we're hoping that you might be able to help us find a solution, an answer for him.
I could arrange to have a small supply of the medicine that we have for him. Unfortunately, it was Gilles who was heading up that research, and I know very little about it. It was kept fairly secret, and we are still just investigating Gilles and his people's disappearance and where he was doing everything. If anyone in Emery's knew something about it, it would be him. If you can track him down, he may be able to shed light, or you could always investigate his manor. I am cautious of having too much of a public investigation regarding him at this time. So, but
Perhaps
have-
looking to his manor might be a good place for us to start. If I know my companion well, I don't know if I do, but as generous as your offer for the medicine is, I think he would wish it be given to those more in need. He is, despite his rough appearances, a very, very gentle soul.
you can see she's like holding back laughter at that comment.
Was Sora really believes that? That's true. I think it's a true statement. Whether the queen knows that or not.
I will take.
Do you have any?
When he has learned of some manners, I can speak with him directly again.
Well, it was very nice of you to have offered that.
I might carry a bottle on his behalf.
I was just going to say if we could have a small emergency.
As much as it might save the lives of many if the medicine would be distributed, it might save the lives of a similar, or if not greater number of people if we're able to prevent a sort of... yeah.
I agree with that, personally. I'm just expressing what I think.
Oh, we don't have to tell him. We could just have it in our back pocket, quite literally, and if we see the wings... yeah.
I agree with everything that you said about Adrian Pastora, for sure. I don't think he would want any of it, and he'd want it to go to those in need. But I think Magnar's right as well. Having a small emergency supply with one of us just in case would be prudent. And Your Majesty, if you have recovered any of Jill's notes or research or have any on hand that I could take with me to study, I would be happy to look into the research to see if there's anything that can be gleaned from it that we might be able
We
to...
had no grounds to take any of his possessions, but the manor, as far as I know, is empty.
We'll have to keep that in mind then.
And what the gods and myself are unaware of can go unnoticed.
Oh, right, you're going to look the other way. Got it. Sorry.
It has been a pleasant lunch. If there's any other business that each of you would like to discuss.
Oh, just a tiny, trifly, small thing. I'll just come straight to the point. A cleric, I have to carry around a ruddy grey 500 gold diamond just in case one of me compatriots should happen to, like, fall dead. And I don't have one anymore on account of it sort of turns to dust when you use it. And if you wouldn't mind, if I could replace it so that I still have one should I need it in the future, that would be appreciated.
Make a persuasion check. At advantage.
Wait, technical DM question. In case of emergency, can my diamond encrusted rapier Youth doesn't resurrect.
No.
300 gold worth of diamonds.
In case of emergency, break.
This was what? This was persuasion. Oh, Magnell's
At
charisma
advantage.
is obviously through the roof.
Yeah, you probably should have asked Restorer to make the request.
Nope. He's just going to come straight out and say it because that's
Honestly.
it's 2 and an 8. Is he going to spend? No, he's not going to spend a hero point because he thinks he's just got straight to the point.
And that saving my life came at a great cost to you. Unfortunately, such diamonds are not easy to come by or readily available, and I'm sure there are some within the city. But I cannot extend those to you. They are not something we keep in a storehouse around the palace.
Right.
So if there's one at Jill's house,
Well, what
Okay.
they don't see
I don't
apparently.
know what we are unaware of. There's little we can do about. However, you will soon be completely allowed to purchase and search the magical shops in town. And along with the letter that we spoke of, and some traveling supplies, should you need them, there will be a bit of gold being sent to your chateau.
just a quick question about Jill, Your Majesty. Is he to be considered excommunicado from the Inquisitorial Corps at this point if we come across him in our
He is a missing legion and needs to be recovered so that we can make sure that he make sure of his well-being as far as we are concerned. And she's giving you a look like
Yep. I got you. I got you. I'll save you a piece.
Well, if there's nothing else, you'll excuse me, there is a lot for me to do in light of recent events. Please feel free to continue to enjoy your lunch. If you like, I will send for your companions.
I think they would appreciate that.
She gives just the barest of a bow of acknowledgement and arises. Please keep the dagger, but I would advise not to tune into it. And walks away.
The second that she's out of earshot, Anna wants to say something to Astora and Magna if we're cutting away.
Yeah.
Like as soon as she's gone, she's just gonna turn around, like slap her hands gently on the table and look between both of them. Garth was really heartbroken that he was excluded from this, and I don't know how to tell him this. And I said that I was going to send him a sending as soon as I found out why he wasn't here. Help me. Any ideas?
Yeah,
Tell him.
just all that sort of really, really dull courtly protocol stuff. And as a priest had to officiate a little bit, and it was terribly dull and terribly boring, and he didn't miss out on anything.
Do you think? Because I mean, part of me almost just wants to tell him some version of the truth. I don't want his feelings to be hurt. He's a hero, and I want him to know that.
I think what I would say is that the queen was unable to appreciate his natural inclinations. That she was unable to recognize
What are you trying to stay with, Stora?
I'm trying to say what you said, but in a different terms.
Oh, this is why I brought it up. Is your
No, it's not an
words.
easy thing. No, it's not a very easy
Yeah.
thing because
What
because quite frankly, the answer is that she doesn't like him.
And part of me almost just wants to tell him that I'd rather be honest with someone's
I don't-
opinion that I care about, but I don't want to
I
hurt him.
don't know if that's a good thing because the truth is the queen doesn't know him.
Exactly.
That's obvious. And it's not about hurting his feelings. It's about maintaining our relationship with the queen. And if we have Garth be upset with the queen over this,
Well, I'm upset with the queen over this.
No, I know,
Agreed.
but if Garth becomes upset with the queen over this, that's one more person we have to convince to say meet with the queen when we need to or something like that. I think he'd be happy to help.
I mean, it does sound like we're still getting the whole sort of pomp and circumstance down the road, which he'll.
Yes. Yes. The other thing is that if we are honest with him, which is fine, we should try to encourage him to prove her wrong.
Yeah, I think I'm going to do a very short sending, and then this can be an in-person conversation later, hopefully after the ceremony.
I think that in-person conversation would be best.
Thank you.
And I will endeavor to do a better job at making a suggestion at that moment that I just did.
That's fine. I'm struggling for words right now. It's the same situation with Hadrian. I assume Hadrian can put two and two together, the queen.
Hadrian's not an idiot. He's very aware of himself in social situations and knows he doesn't get along with nobility well at all. So,
but she doesn't know him, like you said.
She does not know him.
So,
no.
But yeah,
and
we should.
You could tell by the way we were mentioning his kindness and how she did not do that. Nobility has a habit of mistaking polite and correct quote unquote behavior as the equivalent of kindness or like being a good person, which is not the same thing.
So by the time you guys get through that conversation, Adrian and Garth, you guys would have received summons to go to the upper floor balcony from one of the servants to meet that your companions would like to see you.
I will send a sending.
Okay. This would be in the middle of their conversation. Like,
yeah, hit me.
I'm getting anxious. I'll send a sending to Anais. Is the meeting over? I haven't heard anything from you yet. But just a bit worried. You can reply to this.
Westora and Magnar see Anna's eyes like go deer in the headlights all of a sudden. She just like points at her head and and she responds and goes, meeting just got over. They should be sending for you. It was about a lot of unexpected things and secrets. We have a lot to talk about.
Be clear, clarify. We're not being sent for by the queen, right?
I, as a wizard, will also just send another sending on top of that because I'm not one of these broke-ass bitches that has to just do one sending. And I'm going to quickly follow it up and be like, it wasn't anything personal about you. It's complicated politics. Please trust me, you didn't do a single thing wrong.
All right.
Way better.
Reply to the message.
We're on our way.
Yeah.
Should
we get there and get filled in and then hand wave days or what's the vibe here? Sorry.
So you guys would get there literally as they're finishing their conversation, because it's literally just up the hall. Next floor up a little bit ways over. So as you guys are in the middle of being like, well, we want to tell them the truth, and be honest, so I don't know how to say that. Garth and Hadrian walk in.
Hi.
Oh, that was quick.
Hello.
We
Yes,
can
we have
assume that you
Yeah.
kind of, you briefly tell them
what we
what
discussed.
what the queen discussed with you and said, and any of those details. Probably, I assume you guys are leaving out a little bit of her insults or
Yes.
toward.
Yep.
Well, not
Yeah.
to Adrian.
Okay.
I could have guessed anyway. I mean,
I don't. I say that.
I will say, in fairness to me, as like an off-game thing, I said one sarcastic thing to her. And
Yeah,
then
but
I
it
was
was the very
polite.
first thing you said to her.
It's true.
Still Russians are so
rode
important.
a dragon to stop her from dying, so I'm gonna hold this grudge for a long time.
Like, I think it's a valid grudge to hold.
Oh yeah,
I do. It's, but it's also understandable why she may not want to talk to you
Mhm.
after
The
that.
queen
So
wants us to go to Wallachia.
yes, to
Yes.
try to help stop the war.
Garth doesn't want to go to
I
Lake.
don't want to go to Wallachia.
Oh,
We
Not even a little bit.
yeah, he mentioned this before, you guys.
No, I
Doesn't have a
understand.
good history there.
No, I understand that, but I thought, or I hoped, perhaps, that considering the importance of this, and I know you would want to prevent a war, that you might be able to overcome your reluctance.
If we're needed. I suppose I could.
We wouldn't ask for any other reason, Garth, and we understand if it's a complicated answer, but it does sound like us going to Vallaki is one of the best chances Emery's has to prevent a war before it happens. It's going to be very under the cover of dark and under the cover of everything. I won't even be an inquisitor anymore for it. So you will have all of us, though.
I'm gonna put a hand on Garth's shoulder, which is hard because he's, I think, about 10 inches taller than me, but I'm gonna reach up and I mean, I know that we were both running from there when we met, right?
Yeah.
For different reasons. But maybe now is a good time to go back and confront those. Not just for, not just for Emery's, obviously, or the world, but I mean, I know you have some scores that need settling.
I mean,
Yeah.
you won't be alone.
I'm gonna give Garth a hug, actually, as I sort of see him like, it's all right, man.
Yeah. Sorry, I'm not usually lost for words.
Nothing to apologize for.
I mean, we probably won't even be able to get baths while we're there.
I don't think that's what he's concerned about. But I'm glad you're making that sacrifice for everybody.
I was
I know you were.
kind of like a bit. I apologize if that.
Yeah. Because we are, if you're going into the lake here, that's a country where there's no sun, so a lightened mood is going to be necessary while we're there.
How does that work?
Magic.
Yeah.
The sun is there. It's just short days.
Yeah,
It-
like 2 hours.
It's a very. I understand this is a very difficult thing to be asking you to do. And if you really don't want to do it, if you really want us not to go, we could refuse.
I
That
can't
is an
leave
option.
you. I can't leave you to go. If we're going to go, we're going to go.
Like I said, you're not going to be alone. You'll have us with you.
And you'll have Barry.
Not
and
else.
Goth.
No.
Goth. I'm scared to go back there too. Different reasons, but I don't want to face that place any more than you do. So when I left, I didn't remember my connection with it. And I know that you think that you did something wrong in running, and I did something wrong while I was there. And I think we're both going to have to own up to that and try and do better. Can we do that together?
I'll give it my all.
I believe you.
That's all we can ask of anyone. We'll try to be, well, not stealthy, but quick.
Well, and if there's anything, this can be later, but if there's anything that we need to know about your history there, or if you need us to kick anyone in the teeth for you, be more than happy to.
The only one should be kicked in the teeth is me.
Well, we won't do that.
No, I find that really quite hard to believe.
Yeah.
But I won't pry. Unless you'd like me to pry, in which case I will, but otherwise I won't.
Also, nobody here could kick you in the teeth because you're really tall.
I could headbutt him. No, I couldn't. Wouldn't really.
No, that's not kicking
You
him.
could-
That's
you
If I-
couldn't
if
even
you-
you couldn't even punch him. I don't think even if you
Well, if
reached
you
out.
get on my shoulders, Magnar, I think maybe if I put heels
he's
on,
not
maybe.
dexterous enough.
You see,
If he stood still and I took a great big swing with
this
your
was
mace.
what I was trying to do with the bath joke, lighten up the conversation. And
You did it too soon.
I did it too soon.
Because you were immediately dismissing the pain.
Yeah, so I had to let it.
You have to let it. You have to let it.
You let it
okay.
go, and then wait. I had to wait for some level of acceptance, and then, yeah. So I
Goth, you don't need
apologize.
to be kicked in the teeth. Okay. You made a mistake. It doesn't mean you were right to do it. Doesn't mean you can't make up for it. And I say that not believing those words about myself, but I believe them about you. 100%.
So close. So close.
Almost, yeah.
I'm sorry.
Well,
I'll get there.
you will.
So
And
what's
you-
our next? Then?
Well,
Ceremony.
Oh, yes.
and
Well,
before we leave on any trip, visiting Jill's house.
Yes, we get to make a house call.
I assume it's going to involve some arson.
Oh, well,
After we're done.
Yeah, no. I wasn't going to light it on fire when we were still in there.
I'm not going to complain if the house happens to burn down once we leave.
maybe don't start a fire in the city. Actually.
well, no, especially as all sort of the guards and everybody else who are involved will be busy not looking at the house as it catches fire.
That's true. That's true.
Well, you know what we can do is a little bit of vandalism.
We should just buy a bunch of copies of Sir Macy's books and leave them all over the house.
Yeah, I don't want to spend my money on this.
Do you think we can
Yeah.
buy a giant spider anywhere?
Okay, let's just focus on getting into the house and we'll
Really?
improvise.
Because I'd really like to leave one in his basement.
But the point is that we might be able to find answers to the thing, and he might have studied you. I don't know if he did, but
I mean, you know what? For all I know, he did. For all I know, he's been dissecting me for years. I have no fucking clue anymore. I think I showed him something about the ritual to help contact that fucking thing, whatever it is. But beyond that,
He'll have a treasure trove of research. The man was nothing meticulous, so it's definitely worth a careful
Not
look.
meticulous enough to check if our house didn't have a ruddy great spider in the basement before he let us have it.
I have a feeling he probably knew and didn't care.
Yeah, I'm thinking that too.
There.
you all mentioned
Yes, because they were involved in the death of the Queen's guards, if I understood it all correctly.
well, they're also very closely tied to Valakia because of Aldwin.
Yes.
Right? Aldwin conquered from Uldar with the Death Lord's crown, the Black Blade, which yours truly fucked up. Yeah, it feels like a lot is coming back to that particular nexus of terrible things. Uldar, Valakia, Aldwin, my brother and I. It all does seem connected. Even the blade being guarded by one of Nylea's wolves, wherever that is.
Well, it would make sense that there would be some similar players in this, similar countries, and it all is clearly connected. So, yeah, I think that I think I'm not surprised that we are going there.
I just wish I remembered more about. I feel like it could be much more of a help if I did, but
you're a huge help as you are.
If you will excuse me for a minute.
Of course.
Okay.
Yeah. I'll be all right. Gotta head back to my room.
Okay. So are you doing anything in particular?
Is there still wine left?
16 bottles.
How
Oh,
far
no.
can I get through the
15 bottles. 15 bottles.
How much wine can I physically drink?
Make a Constitution saving throw.
I'll get Elsbeth out of the room at some point because I don't think she needs to see.
10.
3 bottles.
3 bottles. Yes.
Before you pass out.
Cool.
All right. And the rest of you?
Well, I guess we don't have much to do until the ceremony. So Wistora will probably spend the rest of today either making plans or trying to speak to people about any upcoming trips, or just continuing to socialize among the court. And that's probably what she does. We'll do in any downtime we might have between now and the ceremony.
Okay. Is anyone else doing anything during the downtime?
Magnar's going to
else we have?
explore the castle a little bit, the palace, and yeah, maybe scouting out to see if there's a cellar or similar that might be something he could request as a place where he could have a bit of a lab, because he's got to move the stuff from the basement, from the old place that he was starting to set up. They probably wouldn't agree. If they don't, he's setting up a lab in his bedroom because he can just move the bed out of the way.
How long do we have?
Well, you guys only basically being allowed to stay in the palace for a few days.
Oh,
yeah.
You were invited to stay, not like live in the palace, but to stay as guests for a few days.
Mhm.
I don't want to leave.
No.
I still want to see still want to see Anais's neighborhood at some point, but before we go.
Garth
Well,
will
I think-
spend. Oh, sorry.
I was just going to say, I think we'll have time after the ceremony to do.
Yeah, but you'd be able to stay there for about 3 days before they don't tell you last minute, but let you know that that's when they'll need the rooms for other stuff and to return to the chateau.
I'm assuming
Before
the ceremony. Oh,
before the ceremony begins, because I think we'll start next session with that. Is because we don't quite have enough time to do the whole ceremony. But you'd have a few days at the palace and then a few days back at the chateau. Delivered to the chateau would be a small chest with 1,000 gold. And a deed to Chateau Breton.
Oh.
And a medium-sized chest that looks pretty secure. It's kind of narrow and lean, and as you open it, you would see it's got about 8. It's got 8 little small vials of a swirling silverish, almost mercury-looking liquid. That, despite that shimmer, is clear and has little sort of almost cinnamony orange and brown swirls through it, and small multicolored chunks of look like a rock or something that seem to move and leave these trails as the current inside shifts and changes direction.
That would be the medicine.
That Magnar and them said that they would
Yeah,
have to have
yeah.
that. You won't know what it is, but yeah, there's 8 vials.
They mentioned they said they caught us up on everything.
We wouldn't have told you about
no,
Yeah.
we specifically were not going to tell you that.
Cool.
How much of it did we get?
8 vials.
8 vials of it. Okay.
I think Magnar should hold on to that.
I want a vial. I want a vial.
I'm not planning on keeping track of that on my character sheet. So if you want to take that, the rest of it, James, or split it between the two of you, that's fine.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah, we'll work that out. Who's tracking the 1,000?
We're just splitting it up.
Yeah.
I think so. It'd be 200 each then.
Mhm.
You would also find a writ to request decent horses, like up to a certain value, wagon and food and supplies, and water from a Ameresian, basically Wainwright and general store, sort of one of their military provisioners, for about 6 months worth of supplies. And 6 horses is what's been allotted. Additionally, there would be a sort of tucked behind everything, sort of in the of the envelope, sort of in a sealed envelope. It would just be this little sealed sort of bit of parchment folded up with the Avril Vermont's personal stamp in wax on it.
I assume we all opened this together, or who's opening it?
This is the writ that she was saying that she
this is the.
applied for you guys
Oh, sorry.
to-
Let's not break the seal on that before we need to.
Nope.
Right. Has there been any mention, Frosty, about us getting licenses to practice magic?
She did mention it, yes.
Yeah.
She said that it would be taken care of, but you don't see the license here.
Okay. Well, I'll hold off on that. It might be presented during the ceremony. I don't know.
Yeah. The only thing that I wanted to say really quick of note, Frosty, is during the days that we spend waiting for the ceremony, once we go back to the chateau, Anna is very scarce and is out especially at nighttime. And she leaves her address finally for everybody, but she's gone a lot of the evenings.
Okay. What is she doing during those evenings?
She's spending some time at her house in her neighborhood, but there's a very specific place in her neighborhood that she's going. So if anybody was following her or scrying on her and stuff, they would see her going into kind of like a seedy tavern sort of thing in her neighborhood. And she'd be spending at least 1 or 2 nights in that tavern, and then just staying in touch with the party otherwise.
Okay.
I would say
probably-
Hadrian would go at some point, given that he'd mentioned wanting to see the neighborhood regardless. But you know,
Magnar may have taken you up on your offer to
Oh yeah,
share your book collection. So
yeah. If we want to, if everybody wants to do like an actual visit or something later, for sure. Like she wants people to come see her house and neighborhood and stuff. But if she's ever by herself or slips out, that's what she's doing.
Okay.
So I'll happily join the group if that happens, but
Yep.
she's not going to go out her way.
but
on her own.
the chateau is not your new residence.
the only
But during the days, Garth will spend most of his time either day drinking or vain attempts to pray Nelia, I'd imagine.
Okay.
Magnus will
Um,
spend some time with Garth trying to teach him to read.
Okay. And during that time, Kadors would come by to see if you would like to have a dinner date. Would you answer the door for him because you're like day drinking and freaking out, or would you hide away?
He would turn him down at the moment.
Okay.
I
Did, like, I mean, do you like answer the door, or do you actually tell him like, no, I can't right now?
I don't answer the door.
Okay. Garth's not here as far as Kadors
Yeah.
is concerned. Okay.
the only thing Hadrian will want to do is I would like to. I know they said not to, but I'm gonna fucking do it. I'm gonna go visit the Alden exhibit at the museum. If it's open still.
As you go to check, you would finally actually getting around to visiting the Musée de Croix since everything happened. You would notice that the wing that had the Aldwin exhibit is smashed. Like the wall has been smashed, and you can see in and see that the sarcophagus, the figure on the sarcophagus is missing. Like the statue of Aldwin is missing, along with the sword and but the sarcophagus is still there, but looks damaged and chipped. And looks like there was a fight in the area, and they are repairing the museum currently, so it is closed to the public. Make an investigation check if you ask around.
I mean, I'm assuming a statue of Aldwin came to life and fucked up some gnomes, but sure.
Yeah,
check.
yeah, that's basically, they found
Okay.
a couple dead gnomes.
Yeah, again, Hadrian doesn't need to make investigation checks to put 2 and 2 together on that one. We had a lot of information about that statue.
Also, you would hear that the lid of the sarcophagus had been opened. And they put it back. There was
Okay.
apparently it was empty.
Yeah. Great. Any information about what became of the statue?
They found the pieces of it lying around the museum in the wing. Looked like it had been fireballed.
Trigani Kwani. Another dead end, I suppose.
All right.
Yeah, then I'm gonna finish Anais's book and play with Elspeth. And
as you guys are spending the time, you would eventually, about 2 days before, be given a letter that basically arrives requesting all of your presence at the castle and throne room, and are asked to make your best sort of presentation and dress for an official courtly function in recognition for your heroism and bravery. And given sort of the time that they're requesting that you guys arrive. And that is where we'll call it for tonight. So thank you everyone for watching. Thank you for joining us. Thank you to all of my amazing players. Thank you to our producer Nick and to all of our amazing Patreons and friends at Mythical Family. If you enjoyed us, tell your friends tell your friends, tell your mother, tell your parents, tell your children, tell your goldfish. And forgot to mention it earlier, but several of us, I think almost all of us, are going to be at RageCon in Reno, Nevada, coming up. And if you're interested, you should come check it out. The information, Kira can give you the information, but she's ran away for the moment.
No, she just put the website up to let you know that it's June 30th through July 2nd, so she can't mess the date up. And it is 21 days, 14 hours, 33 minutes, and 5 seconds away. And it's the Little Nugget Casino in Sparks, Nevada. And it is going to be a massive expo of TTRPGs, board games, card games, probably some LARPing, vendors, and all sorts of cool panels. So if you're in the area or can make it there, highly recommend it. We'll be running games, we'll be running panels, we'll be all over the place. So come out and hang out with us and lots of people from Andromeda Adventures as well.
So with that, thank you everyone. And will you all say goodnight, Big B?
Good night, Big B.
Good night, Big B.
Not big.